My name is Roger Johnson, and I am originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. The first time I broke the law, I believe I was 17 years old. The first time I was incarcerated, I was 18. The first time I committed the crime, believe it or not, it felt really, really normal. It was drug related. I was trying my hand at selling marijuana, and that's what most of my friends were doing. And so it was almost as if someone on the football team threw a touchdown. It was what everyone was doing. You were just doing what everyone else was doing. I've been arrested once. I was sentenced to 5 years. That was my first and only time being incarcerated. Of that 5-year sentence, I served 4 years and around 3 months before making parole. I'm gonna say what many might not say. My initial prison experience was fear. It was an intimidating place. And you kind of somehow know that you don't want to show your intimidation. And later on, you realize that many people know your dad, because I come from a family of people who went to prison. My dad, many of my uncles. And so the longer I stayed, the more I found that the older guys knew my dad and knew my uncles. And so it became, I hate to say it, but it eventually became home for me. But initially, my initial experience was hiding fear. In Connecticut, if you were arrested and you were 18, you were mandated to go to school. And I did so well at school that they kind of hired me as a tutor. And then, that was still before I was sentenced. And then while I was sentenced, I sort of started picking up jobs as tutors throughout the duration of my sentence. And then, I had this religious conversion, and when I say that, I say it strictly because of the fact that at some point it was even recognized by the officers. And the officers would bring what they would consider the trouble cases near me and around my cell, hoping that, there would be some sort of positive influence. What the great Oprah Winfrey might call as my great aha moment was gonna be twofold, right? So foundationally, as I said, I had a religious conversion. I converted to Christianity. What really hit me? There were inmates there. One, I think of a guy who was day trading commodities while in prison. He would call his broker from the jail. There was another guy who had several businesses, and because I was able to be around the older guys because of my familiar connections, they knew my uncles, they knew my dads, I started to become aware that there were opportunities in life. There were things you can do in business. Then as I met these gentlemen who were, like I said, day trading commodities and they were serial entrepreneurs, my mind just blew open. In fact, I remember I started picking up the newspaper every day or every week just so I could look at the business opportunities and kind of daydream on which businesses I would start and what would happen after that. I own an adult vocational training center. Because both my businesses market to the same folks, they kind of partner together with one administrative staff. I'm tired of seeing the environment of the inner city dictate to what our young people think they can do, and I really want to do more work with them. It's good to every once in a while hear someone say, let alone society say, great job. And I think the induction is saying, good job so far.